What's going on, everybody? Kalipas Tech here, coming back at you with another video. This is camera tips and tricks for the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2022. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks for this phone to help you get more familiar with the camera. Now, before we go any further, I do want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a lot. But with that being said, let's get started. So the first thing I want to show you is two different shortcuts to get into the camera without just hitting the camera app. Now this is easy enough, but if you're doing something else on your phone, like maybe you're on an app, or maybe your display is even locked, there are faster and more convenient ways for you to get to the camera. The first one is by double tapping the power key. By default with this phone, it's actually going to open the assistant, but since you can easily activate the assistant with your voice anyway, or just by going like this, you might want to consider changing it so double pressing your power key opens the camera instead. To do this, go to your settings. From here, go down to System, and from System, go to Gestures. And at the very top, it's going to say double press power key. As you can see, I already have mine to launch the camera, but by default, yours most likely is going to be set to launch assistant. So of course, to change it to camera, all you need to do is simply hit this. And now, once you have that setting changed, all you need to do to activate your camera is simply double press the power key. So it's a nice, convenient little trick, and if you want to capture something really quickly in the moment, it's definitely a good feature to have. Now the other feature we can activate on this same menu is called Quick Capture. You can find this right down here near the bottom, and as you can see, mine is currently on, but if it's not on your phone, this is where you're going to go to activate it. Now with Quick Capture on, all you need to do to activate your phone is simply go like this. The motion does take a little getting used to at first, but once you get it down, it's really easy. And just in case you were wondering, both of these shortcuts are usable when the display is locked. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is how to change the aspect ratio of your frame. So to do this, we're going to go into the camera app, hit this little arrow right here, and as you can see, the aspect ratio is currently 3:4 or 4:3 in landscape, but we can change it to 9:16. Or if you want to get an even bigger picture, you can change it to full screen, which in the case of this phone is going to be 20.5:9. Now in most cases, you're probably not going to have to do this, since 3:4 is perfectly fine, but if you're taking, say, a thumbnail for a video, or maybe a picture for Twitter or something like that, you might want to use the 16:9 aspect ratio, because thumbnails are typically going to have that aspect ratio, and then for Twitter, for whatever reason, they seem to favor 16:9 as well. Now it's a little unfortunate that we don't get the 1:1 option, because of course, a lot of people use their phones to take photos for Instagram, and Instagram still to this day does seem to favor square photos. You can obviously use other aspect ratios or just crop your photo after the fact, but it would be nice if this phone could just take square photos to begin with. But even though we're not getting that option here, at least we can take full screen and 16:9 or 9:16 photos. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use portrait mode. So we're on the main screen of the camera right now, and to get to portrait mode, you're going to go to these three bars right here. And we got a bunch of options here, but as you can see, portrait mode is right here, so you're going to want to select that. And now you're going to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. Now when you're in portrait mode, you can also control how much the background is going to be blurred with this little icon right here. The next thing I'm going to show you is a feature called Tap Anywhere to Capture. This is a useful feature if you're holding the camera at an awkward angle and you can't comfortably reach the shutter button. So what you're going to want to do, of course, is go to Settings. From here, go to Capture Settings. And Tap Anywhere to Capture is going to be right here. Toggle this on. And now when we go back to the camera, you can tap anywhere on the frame and it's going to take a photo. Now keep in mind, this feature, while being really useful in some situations, can get super annoying in others. Because I don't know about you, but I personally like to tap on the screen in order to focus on things. And you can't really do that when you have it taking a picture every time you touch it. So overall, definitely a useful feature. Would I have it on at all times? No, I personally wouldn't. But of course, if you want to, then the feature is definitely there for you to use. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to take active photos. Now, if you're coming from a non-Motorola device, you might know these as live photos. It's really the same thing. Basically, it is a normal photo, but it also captures a little motion as well. So to activate this feature, you're going to hit this little arrow right here. And as you can see, active photos by default is going to be off, and you're going to want to turn it on. You can also turn it to auto as well, but we're going to use on for this example. So now I'm just going to take a quick photo. And if we go back and view the photo, you'll actually be able to see the motion. So as you can see, in this case, it actually came out pretty cool. So there is some use for this feature. One thing you can use it for is if you want to get shots of something in motion, like for example, maybe a bird flying or something, an active photo can help you get that shot where it doesn't look like just one giant blur. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use the macro camera. This is a really easy thing to do. All you need to do is hit this little flower icon right here. So now the macro camera is on. I'm going to demonstrate it real quick. And there we go. That's essentially how you use the macro camera. All you really need to do is turn it on, get the camera really close up to whatever you're taking a picture of, and this is pretty much how it's going to turn out. Now, one thing about the macro camera is once you're done with it, be sure to switch back to the standard mode. Otherwise, your regular pictures are going to turn out really blurry. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to use the ultra-wide camera. This feature is actually just as easy to use. The icon is right next to the macro camera where it says 0.5, so when you tap on it, as you can see, the frame is much wider, so you can capture a wider range of scenery. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to customize the bottom bar down here. Now, as you can see, the only things really down here are video mode and photo mode. Sometimes other phones have a couple different things, but with this phone, it doesn't really matter because you can put whatever you want down here. So to do this, we're going to hit these 3 bars right here. And now that we're in this screen, from here, all you got to do is press and hold on whatever mode you want. So for example, portrait mode. And it's going to look like this. And now we can just drag it over here. And that's pretty much it. So now every time you open the camera, portrait mode is going to be permanently down here so you can easily and conveniently access it. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to mute the shutter. Now in case you haven't noticed, by default whenever you take a photo, it's going to make a sound. Now this sound actually really isn't that bad. I've definitely seen a lot worse. But if you're taking a lot of photos and in certain settings, it might get a little annoying. So all you need to do to mute it is go to settings. From here, go to capture settings. And shutter sound, as you can see, is on by default, but you can toggle it off. And now if we go back to the camera, it's not going to make the sound anymore. The last thing I'm going to show you is where to go to change your save location. Now this is really only going to apply if you have a micro SD card, because by default, whenever you take a photo, it's going to be saved directly to the phone itself. But if you do have a micro SD card, you can easily use this to offload your photos and videos so you can have more space on your phone for apps and other sorts of data. So to configure all this, go to settings. From here, go to save settings. And if you go to storage right here, if you have a micro SD card, it will give you the option to save your photos to the micro SD card instead of the phone itself. Now, of course, I don't have a micro SD card in this phone, so it's not going to work for me. But if you do have one, of course, this will actually be available for you. But those were my camera tips and tricks for the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2022. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. But I will see you in the next video.